Hello, my name is KYUNG-HAK Choi from Optolane Technologies. In this talk, I'd like to talk about Optolane's digital real-time PCR system. I have chosen the title, Digital Real-Time PCR has come, since the new generation of digital PCR has been arrived. And I'm pleased to introduce digital real-time PCR technology of ours. Okay, first of all, let me go over a company overview. Optolane has founded back in 2012 since we have very strong semiconductor design technology. We developed a real-time PCR chip on CMOS sensor for molecular diagnostics. We succeeded to implement CMOS sensor-based real-time PCR in 2016. After that, we developed PCR analyzer load system, which means Lebanon array. Since then, we obtained a GMP certificate from Korean Ministry of Food and Drug Safety and ISO 13485 and MDSAP. This year, during the corona pandemic, we developed coronavirus detection RT-qPCR kits. Optolane is located in Seongnam City, 30 minutes away from Seoul, Korea. We also have our own manufacturing facility for reagents and cartridges and analyzers. Here are our board members. They all in the management. Okay. Optolane has integrated various technologies such as a semiconductor including MEMS and biotechnology like DNA and RNA real-time PCR reagents and systems engineering and AI technologies. Based on these technologies, we have built our own real-time PCR platform and some of diagnostics items such as coronavirus or leukemia, and so on. Here is explaining our core technology. As you know, conventional real-time PCR instruments mainly consist of optical system and thermal control system. Our approach is to combine and integrate the thermal control system and optical system except light source. CMOS photosensor can detect the fluorescent light out of well array, while the liquid in the well are heated up and cooled down repeatedly. The PCR chip on sensor is inside the cartridge, so the cartridge works like a real-time PCR machine. Okay, this slide shows how the cartridge does real-time PCR works. The cartridge we called Dr. PCR has about 20,000 well array in which only 0.86 nanoliter can be loaded at each well. CMOS sensor has photosensors and temperature sensors and a micro heater in the back. When the PCR cycle goes on, the fluorescent emission light is detected by the CMOS photosensor array in the wells. So we can provide 20,000 real-time PCR application curves for digital PCR. Optolane can also provide different types of wells array. We have 9 wells, 16 wells, 56 wells, 400 wells, and even 20,000 wells. For 20,000 well is typically used for digital real-time PCR. Others are for multiplex real-time PCR cartridges. Our digital real-time PCR can provide real-time PCR curves at every well. As you see the left image, it is the image of PCR well array taken from CMOS photosensor and marked with green as positive and red as negative reaction. In the right graph, you can see clearly positive curves and negative lines. In the right image, you can see the current digital PCR results. Since it is an endpoint PCR, sometimes it has a raindrop phenomena, which is not clearly defined with positives and negatives. But LOA can tell true positives and false positives since we use TechMan, proof assay, and even one or two copies can be detected without ambiguous. LOA also presents scatter chart. LOA has two fluorescence detection channels. As you see the graph, yellow dots in lower left side represents negatives for both channels. Green dots are for channel 1 positives and red dots are for channel 2 positives. Dual positives are represented by blue dots. As you see the upper right side, there are some yellow dots which may be categorized as positives in current digital PCR system, but we can clearly determine negatives from the shape of the real-time PCR curve. The workflow of our digital real-time PCR is very simple, so even the inexperienced can do digital real-time PCR if they learn how to operate in 10 minutes. We use Postman, a sample loader that can load PCR liquid into cartridge, and we put the cartridge into the load system and touch a start icon on screen, and that's it. After around an hour, you can see the results on the screen display. Our digital real-time PCR system is very fast. Our competitor's system takes many steps of digital PCR and takes 4 to 6 hours, but Optolane's LOA can show results in around an hour. Not only for PCR time, but also price is amazing. We are providing our LOA system with a range of 1/10 of competitors. We are pursuing decentralized tests and centralized data. Our LOA has connectivity and we have our own web service. So doctors doesn't need to visit the test center for confirmed tests. They can find the test results of their patients in their office. It can be useful for CDCs or WHO to monitor the COVID-19 pandemic situation in real time. Thank you for watching my presentation. I really appreciate your interest in our digital real-time PCR system. Thank you.